All right. Welcome, welcome. This is a very special episode of the Soulful Podcast. I
Yeah,
have one of my beautiful and amazing humans and friends here with me, Mari, and we're going to sit down and talk about all sorts of cool stuff today. So, thank you for being here, Mari. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I think we've been trying to do this for a little while now, but
Yes, what we have.
how
And here we are.
are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I appreciate that. It's an exciting time to be alive and to be here with you. So I'm grateful.
Awesome. Yeah, it's nice to connect with people in these different platforms, and even though like when we are trapped into the I call little boxes,
Hmm.
it's also a great way to connect with people all over the world and spread our love and our message.
Yeah, absolutely. I struggled for many years with like social media, trying to be friends with it, and sometimes it being not quite a friend. And I see now the benefit of this online, more digital world, how it keeps us all connected and we can span our gifts and our knowledge. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And you've been doing that for so many years in such beautiful ways. So we'll get into all that good stuff. So I guess just to start off, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and then also dive into your journey. You are an amazing healer. You're a spiritual guide. You lead retreats all over the world, different countries. Um, you're really a person who is making a difference not only in the people around you's life, but in the world. So I'd love to hear how you got here and what brought you to this path.
All right, all right. Where should I start? I I think the healing path definitely we I just think with my own experience, we all start looking for a new way of purpose or a new way of living or a new way to belong
Mhm.
after a big trauma happens to us, you know. And
Mm,
that can be in any sort of context. It can look different um, for a bunch of different people. For me personally, it was definitely in my middle 20s, which is like 10 years ago now. Well, um, coming out of a long term relationship and where my word was, I was with this person from 18 to 26. So, like, that was a huge chunk of my, from like teen, like kind of like young woman into adulthood. And
mhm.
I kind of had lost, I think, my sense of purpose when the relationship ended. And as you know, you spend so much time with one person, and the person is your life, and then they're gone, and then you kind of like have to really figure out who you really are.
Mhm.
And it's not, it's a big journey. It's a journey of resilience and surrendering. Um, and then, yeah, and I think you hit many rock bottoms as you are walking through this life, but there are certain ones like this one for me in particular, which was like I call actually I posted that the other day is a breakup that right now I see as a breakthrough.
Love that.
Yeah, and that way when I had that happen when I was living in California, and then I moved to a different city because I had to restart over because I was feeling trapped where I was.
Mhm.
When I moved to a different city, that's when I got into yoga. I was already practicing yoga, but that's when I actually became doing my teacher training and never thought I was want to teach yoga. I was like, oh, I'll just like teach yoga at a festival or something like that. And then yeah, and then I started like really hanging out with all the people more in the conscious community and feeling all this love and like as people see you as you are and like they don't judge you on you for your beliefs or where you came from. So I felt just a lot of love in the yoga community, and I felt a new way to belong.
Mm.
and also a new way that how I could contribute to the space. Um, and then I loved how like I could just teach yoga at a hostel. Like my first place teaching yoga was a little surf hostel in this little beach town in San Clemente.
Mm.
Which actually I'm going there in a month. I just bought my ticket yesterday, so I'm really excited to go back there and see my friends and some of my yoga community and my teacher. Um, so yeah, that time, which it was 10 years ago, I when I moved there, yeah, I just started. It was just like a snowball, like you just start leaving one thing and then leads to the other, and then I started going kind of like to different events and I was also had a different career where I work as a brand ambassador, which is something I still do today
Mhm.
for different brands. I rep different brands at different events in different industries, and I think it was kind of like a burnout, and it was right before COVID. Um, I remember I went to Bali to teach at a yoga retreat in 2019, and I saw all these people traveling, teaching, and I was like, oh, I want to do that, like I just want to travel and find a way to really live this life
Mhm.
and not be trapped in the system. And then COVID happened, which like got like I know that was like a hard time for a lot of people, but for me it was a really good time.
I can agree.
Yeah, like for me it was like, oh, here's my chance. Bye. I moved to a wheat farm in Maine during COVID, and then I was able to like pay off some debt, and then from there I found like this retreat in Costa Rica at a permaculture farm. It was 2020 to 2021,
Mhm.
and then the words are shut down, nothing, nobody. And then I saw this ad on Instagram. It was called the Jungle Mystic Retreat at a permaculture farm, and then I was like, and the price I could afford it, and I checked the plane tickets. It was like only $50 to fly out of Miami and I was gonna be here for Christmas anyways from Maine, and I was like, I'm going. Like I don't, I went by myself, and then the rest is history. Just because of that choice, I ended up moving to that community in 2021 in February, and then I was there for about 5 6 months. And then I met some friends from Guatemala that told me about Guatemala, and then I came back here, sold my car, and I moved to Guatemala from
Mhm.
August, no, from July 2021 to May 2022. I was living in Guatemala, and then that's when I was living in a mushroom community teaching yoga, and I also did a Thai massage course at the time, and then I started like just living, try to figure out how to live off like healing work. It was much
Mhm.
easier at that time. It was much cheaper. I was also living community where like I didn't had we had food and our my cost of living was like $500 a month, something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and then I finally and then that's when I created my first retreat. Like I just saw people there doing retreats, and I never had time in my life in the States because I was also so busy with work that I never had time to step into my creativity,
Mm.
into my feminine energy, and find what I'm able to create. Because I was busy working for other people, I never. And when I had rest time, I was either taking a yoga class or surfing at the time when I lived in California. So that was the first time in my life where I was like, I had all this time to create and be inspired by people. And yeah, and then it just kept going. And I went to Mexico. I fell in love with like Puerto Escondido, and then I created a surf retreat. I done 3 over there. Um, and then I done 4 in Guatemala. I have one coming up in Costa Rica in about 2 months. And then I have one with you, which we will talk a little bit about in October. And then I have my biggest dream retreat, which is Bali in 2026. Yeah. And then, yeah, I think that a lot of people like, I also say there's a wish, there's a way.
Mm.
There's a
Mhm.
way for you to keep working, and it's definitely a business that you have to every retreat's different, so the marketing is different for every retreat. the structure, the teachers, and the team, and who you're gonna attract. So I'm always pivoting with how I ended up on this path, and I'm still figuring out as I go. Like, I don't know how it always works out. Every time it ends, I'm like, how the fuck did I do that? I was like, no, seriously. I just received the photos from my retreat from Guatemala today. I was like, how did I create that? Like, and this is all my children. Like all the people that come to my retreat, they know that I feel like they're my children, uh, brothers and sisters, and but at the same time, I do crave also like stability, and like I do like teaching at a studio. I do like my way of traveling is not like, when I went to Guatemala, I stayed in one place for a whole year. Like my way of travel is a little bit different. It's not like I stay in one place for 2 weeks and then I move around. And I keep going back to the same places, like
Hmm.
Costa Rica, Guatemala. I know people in these spots, and I think are places I'm going to be going for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's how I ended up in this journey of healing and leading these groups. And I and on a personal level, I've been craving like partnership and like, I don't know, family. If it's not something I wake up every day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to have a baby. But um, I think that comes along when you fall in love again, which I don't know that feeling again yet.
Hmm.
But I think sometimes our paths or purposes are, it's not what we want, it's what God has planned for us.
Mm,
And it will come on the right time, right?
I love that.
Um, yeah. So I've been sitting with that idea a lot, and I've been opening my heart more lately. I've been dating people and like getting to know people again because I had my heart closed for for a while, and I realized I have so much love to give, and one day we're not gonna be here, and might as well open your heart and try, because if you don't try, you're never gonna know. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. It was such a beautiful journey you've been on. There's so much to unpack there, like just the you being such a beautiful example of like how our breakups or our breakdowns can end up being our biggest breakthroughs, and waking us up to so much beauty in the world, and how much like inspiration has been a part of your journey. Like you just go to these places and you see something you like, and then you just go for it and you just create it, and the trust that you have in your path. I think it's commendable and really, really amazing. I think a lot of people can get, stuck, and it can feel hopeless at times. But if we can just like get outside of ourselves and out of our, maybe negative thinking or with self belief, and just be inspired and realize we can really, do whatever we want in this lifetime, and do amazing things. You're such an amazing example of that. So.
Mm, thank you.
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple things there. Like community is obviously a really big part of your life, and a big part of your healing journey as well. And I've been discovering that as well over the past like year or so, as I was really feeling craving to find community and people on the same frequency on the healing journey, transformation journey. Can you talk a little bit about community and how that's been for your journey in your life?
Absolutely. I think first when I was really heartbroken from my breakup, I had this feminism like talks like, I can do everything on my own. Like I don't need a man, like, or I don't need, because I had also that breakout also, like I pushed away a lot of friends because I internalized a lot, but at the same time, a lot of those friends are just mostly like party friends
Mm-hmm.
from my party life. And that was a whole another story too. Like at that time, I was doing lots of drugs, like, and going a dark path. So I think there was not just the breakout; it was also like losing a whole community of friends that I call friends for a while,
Mm-hmm.
for I would say at least 4 or 5 years. And I lost when I moved. I lost everything. I lost the partner, I lost the friends, and so my identity was very shut down. And I was like, I don't need anybody. Like that was my thought. But
Mm-hmm.
as I diving more into yoga and all that stuff, I realized that that community is essential for our survival. Community, we don't have to do it alone, and my suffering is not bigger than anybody else's suffering. And once you start doing more of the healing work, you realize that everybody is fighting their own darkness,
Hmm.
and you start to open up with vulnerability. So first, yeah, the community of yoga was huge, and then also I think living in different intentional communities in Costa Rica and Guatemala also opened my eyes that I start finding love more than just partnership. Like there's love everywhere for
Mm.
us to touch and be felt. And I start falling in love again with nature and healing through activities. Hiking, surfing, in free diving, all that jazz, and then also finding community, knowing that there's community everywhere. If you look, there is community everywhere.
Mhm.
And then the most important, it was healing the patterns of your first community in the world, which is your family.
Mm.
Yeah, so that has been a big one too, like healing, um, trying to like really have a relationship with your family in a loving way, and feeling like when when they people trigger, and how to not to internalize that, especially your family,
Mhm.
as also knowing they didn't know any better for whatever trauma they caused you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful awareness. If we can, develop on the healing journey, we get that compassion for ourselves along that journey, but then it gives us the compassion for the people who, might have hurt us, or the people who we can see now that they have their own things that they're dealing with. Everybody has traumas and conditioning, and that's really, really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's being, yeah, community is very important for me. So, and then, yeah, and then during the retreats we have our own little community too. Though I have this whole community that it's people from all over the world now, that keeps growing. Every retreat is, yeah, it's a different kind of, it's a different, there's different types of communities, I think, and we can have different types of communities.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so important, especially on this journey, because we can't do it. We can only do so much alone. Granted, we do, part of the journey ends up, I think solitude, getting comfortable with ourselves can be important, but it is so imperative to find that community and people we can relate with and share and love. And I love what you said about when you were a lot of people put their love into these relationships that may not be for them, and they put all their love into it, but they forget to love themselves, or to find the love around them. And you were able to, through that process, to start to see the love that you're just always surrounded by, like in nature and all these other beautiful souls that, we're on a more aligned path. I think that's so important for people to really, for us to really find that love within ourselves and in the world around us before we, and develop that, anchor that in, and then we can share unconditionally and all that good stuff. So that's amazing. I love what you said there. Nature is so important too. It's
Yeah.
just just love exuding from all angles. Um, so regarding your communities and your retreats, I'm sure you've seen some amazing things. You've been doing this for quite a while now, and you're super successful. What are some of the biggest transformations and healings that you've seen? Maybe one or a couple that have really stood out to you and made an impact.
Mhm. Well, one thing that I like to say too is that even though, like, I don't think we heal anybody. Like, I even don't even like to be called a healer,
Mm,
because we're not healing anybody else. We're just being channels for people to heal themselves, right? Um, and I heard that from a meditation center in Guatemala. It's called the Pyramids of Chi. And I went to this. It was about metaphysics, and that's what the lady said. Like, she's like, we don't call ourselves healers here. Like, if we're all mirrors of each other. Like, nobody is bigger than anybody just because they have a training because anybody can do a training and step into that role if they want to.
Hmm.
It's more about uh, that some people took the choice to do this, and there's a different knowledge. All these healing modalities, all these different physiologies, that Buddhism, Hinduism, um, and so on. Like it's all different knowledges, different ancient technologies
Hmm.
that they if you everybody can step in the know about that. So just because someone knows more than somebody, we're just being channels for the pet person to know and get to have that feeling of the healing modality, whatever you're sharing, right? If it's a meditation,
Hmm.
if it's a yoga class, if it's a plant, like, right, like even if you are facilitating any type of psychedelics, like you're not the psychedelic, you're just the person conducting, being the channel for the psychedelic. Who is doing the works? The plant.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to tap into that, like that. I think that we're just channels of healing for other people.
Hmm.
So by saying that, um, in my retreats, I think there's some people that stood out to me. Is like that was I think Claire. She came to my first Mexico retreat, and she's actually from West Palm Beach. And she was going through, like, something personal in her life, and then she really wanted to change. And then like 3 months after the retreat, she moved to Mexico, and she's still there.
Wow.
And she found a way. She's a personal trainer, and she makes money online. And she's also an inspiration for me because she, like, I was just a channel for her to get there.
Hmm.
And so that's one person. And then I think that there's a couple others that also, like, I have so many people now that I have to, like, taking a time to think about a little bit. But I think Valentina, one of my photographers too, like she's so young, and then my first retreat ever that she came in, she did some filming photography for me. It was her first time going out alone there, and she was 21. And
Hmm.
then she started her own documentaries called Lost Connections, and now she's been to, like, Peru and Ecuador and Bolivia, and filming all these different retreats, and also like the Sundance. I don't know if you ever heard of the Sundance. This
Sure.
the
Yeah.
men and that, and then she's just like going to all these places and like traveling more than I do now. And then I was like, "Whoa, girl!" And she's like, "Yeah, just because I say yes to your retreat, like." And then yeah, she's just like also an inspiration for me. That one, when you make, actually, if you make one decision can change your whole life, right? One experience can change your whole path in the earth. So
Hmm.
that's why I say, like, if there's a desire for you to do something or travel, or if there's a way for you to do that, just go for it. Because we don't take time back. And
Yeah.
yeah, and traveling is the best school. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's been such a big part of my journey as well. And I love how you said, just go for it. If I believe if God puts that desire in our heart, there's a reason for it. And if we can just follow that calling that's in our heart, it's we can't even comprehend what may happen. It's just ultimately it can be unknown, but that's where all the beauty happens, when we follow our heart. That's really amazing. Yeah, and I also love what you said about, like, healers. I mean, everybody is a healer with the innate capabilities of the human body and the mind and the spirit can heal anything. And what we really do is just it creates space for people for them to remember how to heal themselves and to find that path. And we're all healers, just waiting to be awakened and masters. Waiting to step into our own power. Um, and then you talked a little bit about psychedelics as well, and that's actually how we met in 2021 at a psychedelic conference. And I know that's been a big part of both of our journeys. Specifically, microdosing, ceremonial use of psilocybin mushrooms and other entheogenic plants, and these beautiful plant teachers. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your journey with plant medicines and psychedelics and how they've been, impacted your life?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk about fungi because fungi is not a plant.
This is true. Yes, this is very true.
Fungi, its own kingdom, but of course,
Yes.
it's on the category of plant medicine. But
Mhm. Yeah, earth
um,
medicine, we'll say.
yeah, earth medicine, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just so it's funny because my whole journey with mushrooms started even before I went to Guatemala. I got a job part-time freelancing doing brand ambassador work for Stigmatic when I lived in California in 2019.
Mhm.
And I used to go to all these events and like make mushroom coffee and stuff around LA. And then I started learning about lion's mane, which is the mushroom of the brain, and then I at the time I was taking Adderall for ADHD. And then I was like, I don't want to take this pill anymore. This is like, this is not good for me. And I started learning about lion's mane and combining that with yoga and meditation, how that could be a new way of living and not having to spend hundreds of dollars on Adderall. And because I was about to also not have my health insurance anymore. And then I was just like, you know what? Like, let me try this. And I started learning about also psilocybin and microdosing. But I didn't really start microdosing mushrooms until like 3 years ago. First, I was like really more on the adaptogenic mushrooms, like the
Mhm.
lion's mane, turkey tail. And then when I moved to Guatemala, that's when I started learning more. And then after Guatemala, I went to um, the conference that we met on Wonderland in Miami, and then
Mhm.
and I really like saw a panel about microdosing. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is has to be this way. And then I was doing a lot more back maybe like 2 years ago. It's really cool right now. I've been really using just when I need it, and like if I have a project, like I'll really microdose because I don't want to depend even just on plants, but they're don't have any side effects, like pills and stuff. Like they're,
Mhm.
I mean, if you take too much, you might just see some visuals,
Might turn into an adventure.
which has happened to me before. I'm like, this is not a microdose. I cannot even look at my computer right now.
That's happened to all of us on our microdosing journey at some point.
Yeah, so I was just like, yeah. So mushrooms right now, I do offer a mushroom ceremony in my retreats in Guatemala every year. Um, I don't think I need to offer in every retreat. I think that plants and fungi, are or friends, and they're there when we need them, but we don't need them all the time. They're
Mhm.
just also teachers to remember with things that we already have inside of us. I do have a relationship with ayahuasca. I just sat recently with ayahuasca again in Guatemala, um, but I don't facilitate those. I just like to be on those ceremonies. I think it takes a very special person to facilitate, especially sitting with the actual indigenous people. I create a lot of respect for the plant, and I think that we have to be really careful with also these plants because they can open portals,
Mhm.
the unseen,
Mhm.
and yeah. And I think that's been my relationship with psychedelics. It became like a friend. I would say that when I need them, I know they're there, but I know that I don't need them all the time.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. I see them as teachers, allies, these tools that can support our journey and really provide some pretty rapid transformation when done correctly with respect and honor, and especially compounds or brews and psychedelics like ayahuasca. I feel the same way. I prefer to sit with ayahuasca amongst the indigenous tribe with the maestros and shamans that have been doing it their whole life, because it is a profound experience and it's completely outside of the normal realm and anything that the human mind can even comprehend. And it's nice to have someone who can hold that space and make it create that sacred energy and that really safe supportive energy around those experiences to maximize the experience. And I think we both had some training and some good experience in holding space, that type of space. And obviously, you do this on your retreats. I work with plant medicines one on one with people, and I think we will be doing some ceremonies on our retreat coming up in October. So that's exciting. We can bring our knowledge and our love together just to create a beautiful space to watch as people, as their inner healer and their inner power gets to come out and they get to connect with that part of themselves. I think it's one of the most fulfilling and beautiful experiences to be a part of. So I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, I always say that you find your medicine and use it,
Hmm.
use for the greatest good, and can only we can really only teach what we have experienced, right? We
Mm.
can only really offer what we have experienced ourselves. Um, and there's a whole also uh, important factor on this, which I think that we need to always go back to is preparation integration now, like how we're integrating these allies in back to your or normal life. What's normal these days, right? uh, but like outer retreat, like so this is also like really important as we work with these allies, knowing that we'll be able to help people integrate that when they have this big experience with the earth medicines and the plant medicines. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so important is the preparation and then the integration, if not more important than the ceremony itself. I think the easy part is actually sitting with the medicine and
Yeah.
going for the ride. But the work is really, the preparation leading up to it, and then of course the integration, maybe the most important part, and how we can find meaning from that experience and apply it to our lives. And because a lot of times, these things don't change our lives, they change us, and then we have to go change our lives to now match
And
the
making
same
new choice.
frequency. Yeah, and it's so important. Some people think you can take these earth medicines, these psychedelics, and just be fixed, but no, they really just show us the way to how we can fix ourselves. So I think that's a super important point you made there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people ask me like, how do you integrate something? I'm like, on your daily basis, when like simple as if you're driving your car on the transit and somebody, passes you and they used to be the person like putting the window down and cursing at someone, like you don't do that.
Yeah.
Or if you're when you're talking to your parents and if they're they're triggering you, how do you respond back instead of like raising your voice? So
Yeah.
these are all choices on part of the integration of
Hmm.
being a new human, a reborn human, I would say, after.
Hmm.
Because it all comes down to practice and making new choices, right? Because you can really say like, oh, I'm gonna do more ceremonies, but like no, that's not the answer. The answer is how are you treating your neighbor, like your brothers and sisters? How are you honoring your body with things you're eating, and how are you the music you listen to, who you hang out with? These are all parts of integration, right? Like, and it's
Hmm.
all just living and making new choices. Doesn't mean that you're not gonna fall back into a pattern and you're just gonna. It's not a magic pill, and then it takes practice. But I think that's why community, or we just spoke about community. That's why community is important. Like, stay in touch with people that are in the same path and frequency as you are. That's really really important because then you don't feel crazy.
Yeah, you just gave me truth bumps during that whole dude, everything you said there so resonates so deeply. But yeah, it's super important because not everybody's on this journey of healing and trying to become a better person. If not, I would say it's more of a minority thing. It's sort of niche right now, and it's expanding. Obviously, the consciousness, and we're seeing more people awaken to this path every day. But finding those people and having that community, that support system, is so important because it can be heavy at times dealing with our past traumas that are coming up to be dealt with and the shadow parts of ourselves that we need to learn to love and integrate. And having that support system, I think, is so, so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. So let's talk about Mount Shasta, October. So October 16th to the 21st, Mari and I will be hosting a retreat in Mount Shasta, California, one of the most sacred sites in the country, if not the entire world. They call it the root chakra of the earth. And I'm so excited. This is one of my first big retreats, and it's an honor to be co-facilitating with Mari, who is, just amazing. And I've seen her in community, and I've seen her doing her thing in the retreat space and holding space for others. And she is just magic, and she has such a gift. So it's an honor for
Mm.
me to co-facilitate with her and weave my own magic into the experience. So tell me about October, Mount Shasta. Are you excited? Do you feel the energy brewing already? And how's it going for you?
Well, first, thank you for all the beautiful words about how I show up as a leader and how I hold space for people. That means a lot. I think sometimes I don't patch my own back saying like you're doing a great job. So when it's really nice to be seen. So thank you.
Welcome.
Um, I can say the same for you. You always have such a great energy, such a great aura, I would say, around you, and you're always smiling and make people feel good, and how you approach everyone with love and respect. Um, just the one event that we did it together. Uh, I'm really excited to co-create with you. If I didn't believe in your power to be a leader, I wouldn't said yes to co-create with you, because I think it's such an important job. It's also a lot of responsibility. Yeah, I'm really excited. I drove my first time out Shasta is I drove there by myself, 10 hours in a car, right when everything started opening up after COVID. And I camped by myself in those mountains and hiked. And then, like, so it'd be really nice to go back there and being a group. Everything kind of like felt like, that it was not forced. It kind of like idea came up and then we found a place and kind of just like, wow, it's happening. So yeah, so I'm really, really excited to go back there. I love the West Coast, and it's such a special place. And yeah, people don't think about it. Like I don't think a lot of people know about Mount Shasta that are outside of the spiritual community.
Hmm.
Um, but it has so much water and green and waterfalls, redwood forest, and it's
Hmm.
just impeccable. Um, I'm
Yeah,
really,
I have yet to be out there. So we will be going out there beforehand to experience the land and to connect with that energy there before we hold space in October. So I'm super excited to get out there. It's been calling me for quite a while now, and it was such a synchronicity. I knew I would be here this year. Like it was part of my journey, and then you're like, "Hey, you want to do a retreat in Mount Shasta?" And I was like, "What? Of course." That would be incredible. But yeah, I think it's like a beautiful mix, just from what I know about it without experiencing it yet, is that it's a beautiful mix of like spiritual, sort of like higher dimensional energy, but also just like Mother Nature. So it's like a beautiful place where the heavens and the earth meet, and we can just get immersed in that energy. And I think it's impossible to go there and not have some sort of transformation or evolution in our journey, because it's just a very powerful vortex of just these beautiful energies coming together there. And nature and the heavens, and the star families, and who knows what's going on there, and behind the scenes, but it sounds like there's a lot.
yeah, your voice just cut off a little bit, but it's okay.
Okay.
Um, it is, yeah. That's why the retreat name is called the Portal, because it's we're gonna be entering a portal together with our friends Fungi, um,
Hmm.
and we found this beautiful home, um, and maybe we can include the link on the podcast notes too, like the people,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'll be out there in California in a month. I just bought my ticket yesterday. I'm going to High Vibe Fest. Um, so I'll be meeting some folks there, and spreading the love of our this journey. Um, and I think uh, we before we had to, I think after we had to Mount Shasta, there is a possibility we might also be a Sacred Sons event. So if he aligns, so we'll see if the destiny. Right now, I'm just walking through life like that. Like I have the call, but I'm not forcing it. You know, if the
Mm,
universe opens the doors, it make it easy for me to be there. I know I'll be there. So, but yeah, I'm just I've been saying in a we of the whole how every year like I'm getting older, but it's just getting better.
mm.
You know, it's like wine.
I think that's when you're doing something right.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for that too. So for like the unfolding and of the unknown, instead of having fear, I'm just excited because I really don't know what's gonna happen. Like
Mm,
sometimes, you know. But yeah, like sometimes I just have to pause and take a breath. Like, can you just enjoy the moment for a second instead of like trying to dream about the future? Because there's so much beauty just happening here and now.
mm,
And can you just enjoy this before thinking about the next moment? And this is where I'm coming back to lately. It's like I'm creating so much and we have all these things happening. But how can I just integrate and be here right now?
mm.
Yeah.
Profound. That's deep. So true. We're always trying to do so much, but I think we're really just here to be. And if we can slow down from time to time, of course, we got to pay the bills and take action, and but we need to make sure we're taking that time to just be and take a deep breath, to be present, and because nothing exists outside of the present moment.
Yeah.
We're either anxious about the future, or we're worrying about the past, and but where we need to be is just here, present with our breath, and yeah, that's so beautiful. Mm.
Yeah. That's why yesterday I had like I was subbing 2 classes in the morning and then I had a call with my friend Selena that she's helped me rebuild my website. And then I had um, a call with my Guatemala group and I had to create some content. So I had an hour and a half between all these things in the afternoon at like 4 o'clock. And I was like, should I go to the beach or not? Or should I just go to the coffee shop? I'm like, I mean, in Florida here, like one of the places that we really have that it's like nature is the beach and a couple parks. You know, there's not much open space.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, even that hour in 15 minutes that I went yesterday of just sitting there on the sand. I didn't even go to the ocean because it was a lot of seaweed, but of
Mm-hmm.
just sitting there and just seeing the ocean, I was like, this here is like therapy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have why I was even questioning that I wanted to go there because I think our minds are always doing, doing, doing. Like that hour is for you to just be. You just sit on a tower and just look at the ocean. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
let's enjoy your being. So I've been coming back. That's why I tap on that because I think that's really important as I have like a mind that creates a lot, and I think those moments are really really important to
Mm.
slow down.
Yeah, I think it's like when we can get slow and still and in nature or wherever we find that place in meditation, and it's when we really get that like communication, and we can develop our highest frequency, really like embody that gratitude that attracts everything in our life. And for us to hear our heart's callings and these whispers from the universe telling us to go in a certain direction, we have to slow down to receive that information. If we're trying to move around so fast, we may miss all the beautiful signs that are waiting for us to see them, type of thing.
Like, oh, a butterfly
Yeah.
or a hummingbird.
Yeah, exactly. It's so important, and we just been so conditioned to race and to get things done, and I think there's a revolution of stillness and like slowing down and presence that's returning to our planet, which is really
Yeah,
beautiful. The flow is coming back.
yeah. That's why I kind of like travel a lot too because I feel like here I have I still have to do the matrix jobs to be able to survive, which it's okay. It's like we said, it's all sacred, and like I like being really upfront with people that like I don't leave off retreats, I don't leave off just healing work.
Hmm.
I've been working really hard lately, other working for other brands, working some shows and conventions. But I was realizing it's all sacred. But
Mm,
also, like when I'm here, it's I try to take a pause Because before I'd be like, oh, if I don't work this event, I'm gonna lose $1,000. No, and then like now I'm like, no, but if I actually take the break, I'm gonna be able to show up better and not burn out. You
Mm,
know. So I've been saying that we have like phases of creation, phases of hard work, phases of
mm,
rest, um, and yeah, and I really take the time when I travel to do that.
mhm,
Because here, like, I take times on the days, but it's just, yeah, it's here. It is my like hustle culture for me here. And it's just, and being grateful because all this other work, they do support our vision, they do support our work, and
mhm,
also knowing that having different streams of income, even though it's not all healing work, it's also sacred, and
mhm.
eventually we'll get there.
Yeah, I love that. Just appreciating the journey wherever we're at, whatever we're doing now, and making it sacred, like everything is serving our journey in some sort of fashion, and whether it's a job that we think we've outgrown, but like any point of the journey is serving our own journey, and it's a way we can relate with others at their point of their journey that might have been somewhere we were like a year ago or 2 years ago. And yeah, making, having that mindfulness to just be like, okay, I'm working at this job that maybe doesn't fill my heart up, but I can use this time to connect with people and to, you know, make my people skills better, whatever it may be, and just taking advantage of the moment. And then also having that time, like you said, to get still, raise our frequency, whatever we need to feel our best, then we can serve the world and do our jobs and be the best person we can be for the world around us. And if we don't take that time to work on ourselves and to just give ourselves what we need, that self-love, that self-care, we'll be just, burning out at some point. We really have to recharge and stuff.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
The journey um, is just surrendering and really, and just being open to that whatever it rises, even if it's not what you really want, and if it causes you trouble,
Hmm.
that there, because you're already being through something hard, that that those phases, whatever experience you have, it might be, a career challenge or anything like that, or relationship, it's everything's temporary, like, in knowing you'll get through it, it was just going to make you more resilient
Mm.
to whatever is coming in. Like, we all know we cannot control what's going out there in the world, and right now, like, it's, especially right now, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of things happening, like in different countries, and all this fear and stuff, and then, like, I'm just here like, let's create.
Hmm.
We raise the frequency by creating, and then we
Yep.
and then we move accordingly, and we
Yep.
adapt.
And before you know it, there'll be a whole new world out there. Yeah, we keep
we,
raising the
and we,
frequencies.
we are the ones creating that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It all starts within us, and then
Yeah,
it goes everywhere. And it's a
absolutely.
collective thing. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I'm just like so filled up right now. Your energy is always really beautiful to be around. So thank you for sharing your space today. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go? And anything coming up you want to talk about? I know you have another retreat before our retreat in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And then maybe some other things that you want to drop on here.
No, yeah, just that I have this woman's retreat in Costa Rica, June 23rd to 29. I have one spot open for a partial work trade, and I have two or three spots for guests still. And then I have a Bali retreat in January. Um, but I'd like to leave the message that, yeah, just tap into what we just spoke. Whatever you're going through is temporary. So I always go back to that feeling that we don't have to avoid our emotions or how we feel. And if you can just feel them, knowing it's not our final stage, you will be able to come into the other side with so much joy and love for yourself, knowing that you're not alone. We're all here together, and that um, I love chatting with people. So if people like, if you put my information, my Instagram, my website, people are always free to email me or message me, and that's it.
Mm, beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you, Evan.
Thank you, Mari. I will put all of Mari's information in wherever you're seeing this in the bio, as well as our all her amazing offerings and our retreat, which will be in October. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. It's been incredible.
You're welcome. Have a good day. It's not evening yet; it's afternoon. So
Yes, and it is a beautiful one. So we'll
yeah,
go enjoy and take some time in the
I
sunshine,
know.
all that good stuff.
Amazing.
So thank you. Love every single one of you. Lots of peace, lots of love your way. And until next time,
Mucho amor. Bye.
mucho amor.